Thanks, Selina. Let's go back now to our top story, the continuing conflict in Gaza. Israel and Palestinian militants have rejected a United Nations resolution calling for an immediate ceasefire. Well, we can go live to the United Nations and speak to Asaf Shariv, who is the Consul General of Israel to the United Nations. Welcome, thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you and good evening.
Despite Hamas continuing to fire rockets into southern Israel, we've seen pictures of real suffering in Gaza, women and children, ordinary civilians. Are you concerned that this is turning into a PR disaster for Israel?
I'm concerned not because of the PR. We are concerned about any civilian who got hit. Hamas announced before, during and prior and after the UN resolution that they won't accept the ceasefire, and they didn't just announce, they shot, as you said, more than 30 rockets on our cities. So the Israeli citizens, almost a million of them, sitting in the shelters right now, holding the UN resolution, but it doesn't really help them. So we have to fight back. I hope that Hamas will stop shooting, and that will be the effective ceasefire, a practical one.
Do you think that the UN has any useful role to play now in actually finding a path through this conflict? After all, both Hamas and Israel have rejected outright this call for an immediate ceasefire.
I don't recall that Israel rejected it immediately. We've been hit in this morning with 30 rockets. I think from the first day of the war, of this operation, Israel has worked with the international community, including the UN, specifically with the Egyptian, towards a sustainable and endurable ceasefire. And this is our goal. We want to make sure that there will be a ceasefire. One, as the UN resolution said, that will build a mechanism that will stop the smuggling into the Gaza Strip, and one that will take into effect immediately and won't have the sides start shooting at each other again 5 minutes after it gets into effect.
But does you are the Consul General of Israel to the UN, does the UN really have any useful role to play now, as long as America abstains from any resolution on the conflict?
I'm the Consul General to New York. We have an ambassador to the UN, but of course the international community has an important role in achieving those goals. The international community set some goals to Hamas 2 years ago regarding the crossings, regarding the humanitarian situation, regarding recognizing Israel's right to exist. And Hamas failed to accept this condition. I hope they will, and we can stop seeing these pictures that we see.
How concerned are you about the accusations of war crimes being levied against Israel? Of course, this has been levied at Hamas as well, and we know that Hamas does operate in and around civilian areas, so it does put women and children and other innocent people at risk. But nonetheless, accusations of war crimes are being directed at Israel as well.
We feel sorry for the civilian population in Gaza. We really do. I think they are suffering. I think they suffer mainly because of what their government, Hamas, is doing to them. Every complaint we are getting, we are investigating it. We are doing everything in our power in order to make sure that civilians won't get hit. We are helping the Palestinians more than their government is helping them by bringing in food and medical equipment, and we will continue doing that. We announced that there will be a 3-hour ceasefire every day in order for the Palestinian population to get this food, leave their houses.
Some of the humanitarian agencies are saying that 3 hours is simply not enough to get in and to distribute the aid where it is needed.
We are working with the UN, with other organizations, to see what they need and how we can help them, because we are not in a war with the Palestinian population, but with Hamas. Apparently they are the government right now, but we are doing everything in our power, as I said, to avoid hitting civilians.
So do you think that 3-hour lull or cessation in operations might be extended if the humanitarian organisations make a strong enough case that that is not enough time to do their work effectively?
I hope there will be a ceasefire. I hope not a 3-hour ceasefire, but a true and genuine ceasefire.
But in the meantime, because people need aid right now.
In the meantime, today, during the 3 hours ceasefire, Hamas shot at the crossing, the same crossing that brings food inside Gaza. They were shooting at our soldiers during those 3 hours. There's enough. We cannot do anything alone here in Gaza. If they are shooting at our soldiers during these 3 hours, we can't let our soldiers get hit. If there will be a need for more than 3 hours or more aid, we'll do everything in our power to supply it.
Okay. Do you think, Mr. Shariv, that Israel perhaps needs to look at a new approach or new approaches now, because 14 days into this conflict, these rockets, as you say, are still being fired by Hamas. So the objective of trying to degrade that capability doesn't seem to be progressing perhaps as quickly as Israel would have liked. So does a new approach need to be taken? Does Israel need to take the lead on that?
We would have liked not to go to this operation from the first place. You said it's 14 days, but for us it's 8 years since they started these rockets and missiles on Israel. We anticipated that they will shoot, but the Hamas as a terrorist organization got hit severely in this operation. And if we will get this mechanism that the UN resolution talked about, that they cannot rearm themselves through those smuggled weapons inside Gaza, I think it will have, in the long term, will bring peace to the Middle East.
But briefly, I'll just come back to the same point. I mean, can Israel take a lead? It may not. It may go against the military strategy that you've been following up to this point in the last 2 weeks. But can Israel perhaps turn world opinion and take the lead on something?
We tried every other option in the last 8 years. I think the international community could intervene a lot earlier. Israel withdrew from Gaza in year 2005, and 3 years we weren't there. It didn't stop Hamas from shooting at us. The military option was really the last option we had. We waited and waited, we restrained ourselves, and now we are responding. Hopefully, the international community, with our help, will reach an agreement and we will stop it.
Okay, Asaf Shariv, thank you very much for your time this evening.